Have you ever walked into a room, stood still for a moment, and wondered, now what did I come in here for? Maybe you found yourself in the middle of a sentence, only to pause, searching for that one word that used to come so easily. If you've had moments like this, you're not alone. For so many people after 60, short-term memory slips become part of daily life. And while they may seem small at first, they can slowly chip away at your confidence, your independence, and even your sense of who you are. That's why today's topic is so important. Fix short-term memory, regain mental sharpness, hippocampus repair, elderly advice. I remember a gentleman named Harold who came to see me. He was 72, a retired high school principal, sharp as a tack in his younger days. But lately he'd been forgetting names, losing track of conversations, even misplacing his car keys and finding them hours later in the refrigerator. His wife, a sweet woman named Margaret, worried it might be the start of something serious. But Harold looked me straight in the eye and said, "Dr. Easton, I just want to feel like myself again. I don't want my grandkids to see me as the old man who can't keep up." Now, before I go further, let me introduce myself for those who may be new here. My name is Dr. Nolan Easton, and I've been a men's health specialist for over 30 years. In that time, I've sat with countless men and women who feel their memories slipping away, and I've helped them rediscover clarity, focus, and confidence. What we're going to talk about today isn't about big medical words or complicated science. It's about understanding what's happening in your brain, especially in a small but powerful area called the hippocampus, and what you can do, starting right now, to keep your memory sharp and alive. Think of your hippocampus like the librarian of your mind. It takes the new things you see, hear, and learn each day and carefully places them on the shelves of your memory. But as we age, that librarian starts to get a little tired. The shelves get messy, files are misplaced, and sometimes the lights in the library flicker, making it harder to see clearly. That's when you walk into a room and forget why you're there, or you can't recall the name of your neighbor who you've known for 20 years. It's frustrating, even frightening. But here's the good news. The librarian isn't gone. It just needs some help, some rest, and a bit of repair. I told Harold the same thing I'm telling you right now. Memory loss is not always a one-way street. The brain is remarkable, and the hippocampus can heal, adapt, and strengthen even in our later years. And that's where this conversation becomes not just about memory, but about hope. Imagine sitting with your grandchild, listening to their stories, and never losing the thread. Imagine remembering appointments without sticky notes plastered all over the fridge. Imagine feeling sharp enough to enjoy reading a book without rereading the same page 3 times. That's what's possible when you begin to care and repair this part of your brain. Now, before I go on, I'd like to pause here and ask you for something. If you're watching this and you find yourself nodding along, if this message speaks to you, then please give this video a like and subscribe to this channel. And let me ask you to do one simple thing. Write yes or no in the comments below. Just a yes if this feels true for you, or a no if it doesn't. I do read through your responses, and they help me know what you're struggling with, so I can give you the best possible advice. When Harold sat in my office, I asked him about his daily routine. He admitted he was spending long hours in front of the television, not sleeping well, and skipping meals here and there. His days no longer had a rhythm, and his brain, like an underused muscle, was growing sluggish. That's something I see in many of my patients. Our modern lifestyle quietly chips away at the hippocampus. Poor sleep, lack of movement, too much processed food, and even the stress of worrying about forgetting in the first place. Each of these factors can weaken memory, but just as importantly, each can be reversed. Think of your brain like a garden. The hippocampus is one of its most delicate flowers. Neglect the garden, and weeds take over. But with a little attention, watering, sunlight, fresh soil, the flowers perk up again. In the same way, your memory needs consistent care. Small, daily habits act like the water and sunlight for your hippocampus.
And when you nurture it, even after 60, that flower can bloom again. I remember telling Harold about one particular study that fascinated me. It showed that the hippocampus could actually grow new cells when people engaged in certain types of activities, even in their 70s and 80s. When he heard that, his eyes lit up. He said, "You mean it's not too late for me?" I smiled and told him, not only is it not too late, it's the perfect time. Because when you're aware of the changes happening in your body and mind, that awareness gives you power. And that's the heart of this video. It's not just about fixing short-term memory. It's about regaining your sharpness, your confidence, your ability to stay connected to the people and the life you love. For Harold, that meant being present with his grandkids and supporting his wife. For you, it might mean holding on to independence, remembering the joy of music, or simply waking up each day knowing you're still the person you've always been, not defined by slips or lapses.
When Harold left my office that first day, he carried with him a spark of hope, but also a little bit of doubt. He asked me, "Dr. Easton, is this really possible at my age? I mean, I've been noticing these slips for years now." That's a question many of my patients ask, and maybe it's something you've wondered too. Let me tell you what I told him. The human brain, and especially the hippocampus, is more resilient than most people realize. Age doesn't erase its ability to grow. It just asks us to be more intentional in how we take care of it. You see, the hippocampus is like a bridge between the present moment and your stored memories. When the bridge is strong, thoughts flow easily. You remember names, appointments, and where you placed your glasses. But when the bridge starts to weaken, those thoughts can't always make it across. What makes this so powerful is that bridges can be rebuilt. New connections can form, and the more you work with your brain, the more those connections strengthen. I asked Harold to start with something very simple, walking. Just a 20-minute walk each morning around his neighborhood. At first he laughed and said, "Doc, how can walking help my memory?" But I explained that movement increases blood flow, and when more oxygen and nutrients reach the hippocampus, it begins to repair itself. Within a couple of weeks, he noticed something surprising. His mood improved. He felt more alert in the mornings. And little by little, he began remembering small things that used to slip through the cracks. That's how it works. It's not about one giant change. It's about small, steady steps that rebuild your sharpness from the ground up. And let me pause here to say something to you directly. You have that same potential. Whether you're 60, 70, or 80, your hippocampus is still alive and waiting for the right care. This isn't about turning back the clock. It's about strengthening what you already have so you can live fully in the moments ahead. I'd like you to picture something with me. Imagine your brain as a series of winding trails through a forest. Some trails are clear and easy to walk. Others are overgrown from lack of use. Every time you practice recalling something, every time you engage your mind in an activity, you're clearing the brush, making those paths easier to walk again. And when you do it often enough, those once forgotten trails can become strong, well-traveled roads. Harold began clearing his trails by adding another habit, learning something new. His granddaughter was teaching herself to play the ukulele, so he decided to learn along with her. At first, his fingers felt stiff, and he struggled to remember the chords. But as the weeks went by, his brain lit up in new ways. Music has a remarkable effect on the hippocampus, and it gave him a playful and joyful way to exercise his memory. By the time he came back for his next checkup, he strummed a few chords in my office, grinning ear to ear. He said, "Doc, I feel like my brain is waking up again." And that's exactly what happens when you feed your hippocampus new experiences. You don't have to learn an instrument. It could be a new language, puzzles, or even cooking a recipe you've never tried before. The key is to challenge your brain gently, giving it something fresh to work on, something that keeps those pathways alive. Now, I want to pause for a quick moment here and invite you, if you're finding this message valuable, please take a second to like this video and subscribe to the channel. And remember to type a simple yes or no in the comments below. It might seem small, but those responses truly matter. I read them, and they help me shape these conversations so they meet you exactly where you are. Now, one of the biggest obstacles Harold faced was stress. His wife noticed that when he worried about forgetting, he actually forgot more often. That's because stress releases certain hormones that shrink the hippocampus over time. So I taught him a simple breathing exercise. Just 5 minutes a day of slow, deep breaths. Inhale through the nose, exhale through the mouth, helped calm his nervous system. And when the brain is calm, memory finds space to flourish. It may sound simple, but many of the most powerful tools are walking, learning something new, managing stress. These are not grand, complicated solutions, but together they create a foundation for the hippocampus to heal. And when that foundation is strong, memory becomes less of a struggle and more of a natural flow again. I think about the joy in Harold's voice when he told me, "I remembered the grocery list without writing it down. I haven't done that in years." To some, that might sound small, but for Harold, it was a victory, a sign that he was regaining control of his mind one moment at a time. So let me say this to you. Don't measure your progress only by the big milestones. Celebrate the small wins, remembering where you placed your glasses, recalling the name of an old friend, finishing a crossword puzzle without giving up. Each of these is proof that your brain is responding, that your hippocampus is getting stronger, and that you are moving in the right direction. As Harold's story unfolded, it became clear to me that what he needed most wasn't just exercises or advice. It was belief. Belief that his memory could improve. Belief that his life could still be full of clarity and connection. And once he held on to that belief, every small change began to feel worthwhile. That's the same belief I want to pass on to you. By the time Harold returned for his third visit, there was a noticeable lightness about him. He walked into my office with energy, his eyes brighter, and his memory sharper than when I first met him. He sat down and said, "Dr. Easton, I feel like I've got my old self back." Those words meant more than he realized, because when someone reclaims their memory, they aren't just remembering facts or names. They're reclaiming their identity, their confidence, and their sense of belonging in the world around them. But Harold's story also revealed something deeper. His progress wasn't just from walking, learning new things, and practicing calm breathing. He had made a choice. He had chosen to treat his brain with the same respect and care that he once gave his career, his family, and his health. That choice is something each of us can make, no matter our age, and it's what allows the hippocampus to truly begin repairing itself. One of the first things we talked about that day was his sleep. Harold confessed that he had always been a night owl, falling asleep with the television on, waking up in the middle of the night, and sometimes only getting 4 or 5 hours of real rest. What he didn't realize was that during sleep, the hippocampus sorts and files the events of the day. Without sleep, it's like trying to clean and organize a room in the dark. So I asked him to commit to a new bedtime routine. Turning off the TV an hour before bed, reading something light, and keeping his bedroom cool and quiet. Within a few weeks, his sleep improved, and so did his memory. That's the beautiful connection so many people overlook. The brain is not separate from the body. The food you eat, the rest you get, the way you move, all of these things either feed or starve the hippocampus. And when you begin to align them, your memory responds like a flower finally receiving water after a long drought. Harold also shared that he had started cooking more with Margaret. They experimented with meals full of leafy greens, berries, fish, and nuts. These foods are rich in antioxidants and omega-3s, which protect brain cells and help repair the very structures responsible for memory. He said, "Doc, I never thought dinner could be medicine."
but that's exactly what it was doing, giving his brain the fuel it needed to grow stronger. And it wasn't just the nutrients, it was the joy of cooking together. Engaging in a shared activity, laughing, tasting, creating new dishes, all of that stimulated his hippocampus in ways he never imagined. Memory repair isn't just science, it's lived experience. And it happens when you weave health into the fabric of your daily life. I want to pause here to invite you again. If what I'm saying resonates with you, if you feel this message is speaking to your own life, please give this video a like, subscribe to the channel, and leave me a yes or a no in the comments. I truly do read them, and your feedback tells me what you're facing and how I can guide you further. As Harold kept improving, his wife told me something that touched my heart. She said, "I feel like I have my husband back." You see, memory loss doesn't just affect the person experiencing it, it affects the whole family. When memory weakens, conversations become shorter, laughter less frequent, and connections strained. But as Harold's memory sharpened, he became more present in their shared moments. He remembered to ask about her day, to follow up on her stories, to laugh at their inside jokes. And in that presence, their bond deepened. That's one of the greatest gifts of repairing your hippocampus. It's not just about remembering a grocery list or a phone number, it's about reconnecting with the people you love, about staying woven into the lives of your children, your grandchildren, your friends. Memory is the thread that holds those relationships together, and when you strengthen it, you strengthen every part of your life. Harold also started something else, journaling. Every evening, he wrote down 3 things he remembered from his day. They didn't have to be big. Sometimes it was a conversation, sometimes a meal, sometimes a detail about the weather. At first, it felt like an exercise, but over time, it became a source of joy. He looked forward to sitting down with his notebook, recalling the moments and savoring them as he wrote. This practice not only trained his hippocampus, but also gave him gratitude for the small things. And gratitude itself has been shown to improve mental clarity and reduce stress. One evening, Harold wrote, "I remembered the story my granddaughter told me word for word." When he shared that entry with me, he smiled with pride, and I could see how much it meant to him to be fully present in his family's lives again. And here's what I want you to hear from his journey. Memory repair isn't about perfection, it's about presence. It's about taking back the little moments, piece by piece, until life feels whole again. You don't need to memorize every detail of the past, you need to strengthen the bridge that keeps you connected to the present. And that is something you absolutely can do. When Harold and I spoke about his progress, he asked me one more question. "Doc, do you think I'll keep this up?" I told him, "Harold, you've already proven to yourself that your brain can grow stronger. The real question is not if you can keep it up, it's whether you'll continue to choose yourself every day." And I'll say the same to you. You have the ability, right here and now, to nurture your hippocampus, to give it what it needs, and to step into each day with confidence.
When Harold came in for his final follow-up, he carried himself differently. There was a quiet confidence about him, a sense that he wasn't just managing his memory anymore. He was living with it fully, actively, and joyfully. He sat down, looked me in the eye, and said, "Dr. Easton, I feel sharp again. Not perfect, but sharp, and I'm not afraid of losing myself anymore." That moment reminded me why I do what I do. Because memory, especially short-term memory, is not just about recall. It's about identity. It's about staying connected to who you are and who you love. And when the hippocampus repairs, even partially, you begin to feel whole again. Harold had gone from misplacing keys and forgetting conversations to remembering his grocery list, learning new songs with his granddaughter, and writing down daily reflections that gave him joy. His wife, Margaret, told me she no longer worried about leaving him alone in the kitchen or relying on him to remember important dates. For them, the changes brought relief, peace, and a deeper closeness than before. And I share Harold's story with you because I want you to see that transformation is possible for you too. No matter your age, your hippocampus can respond to care, to attention, to the daily choices you make. You don't have to resign yourself to feeling foggy or disconnected. You can strengthen your memory, sharpen your focus, and live fully present in the life you've built. I often tell my patients, your brain is like a garden. What you water will grow. If you water it with neglect, with stress, with unhealthy habits, the weeds will take over. But if you water it with movement, nourishment, rest, and curiosity, you'll see growth, even in your later years. Harold's story proves that it's never too late to start tending that garden. Now, let me ask you something. If this message has spoken to your heart, if you found hope in Harold's journey or in what we've shared today, please give this video a like and subscribe to the channel. And once again, write a simple yes or no in the comments. These small gestures matter more than you know. I read your answers personally, and they help me guide future conversations so they serve you better. The truth is, memory loss can feel like a thief, stealing moments, stealing confidence, stealing connections. But you are not powerless. You are not at the mercy of age alone. You have tools, you have choices, and you have the ability to nurture your hippocampus so it can serve you well for years to come. Whether it's a walk in the morning, a new recipe, deep breaths before bed, or writing down your daily memories, each small action adds up. Each one is a step toward reclaiming clarity. And perhaps most importantly, remember this: you are not defined by your forgetfulness. You are defined by your resilience, by your willingness to care for yourself, by the love you give and the life you live. Just as Harold discovered, you can rebuild that bridge between today's moments and tomorrow's memories. As we close, I want you to hold on to the same vision I gave Harold. Imagine sitting with your loved ones, fully present, laughing at their jokes, remembering their stories, and knowing they see you as the vibrant and engaged person you are. Imagine reading a book and savoring the words without losing your place. Imagine walking into a room and recalling exactly why you're there. These are not fantasies, they are real possibilities, waiting for you when you choose to nurture your mind. So today, my advice for elderly men and women alike is simple. Don't wait. Begin now. Begin with one small step. Your hippocampus is alive, and it's ready to respond. And just like Harold, you may be surprised by how quickly you begin to feel like yourself again. Thank you for spending this time with me. I'm Dr. Nolan Easton, and it's been my honor to share this message with you. May you find clarity, sharpness, and joy in every day ahead. And remember, you are never too old to reclaim the best parts of yourself.